I have an exciting announcement to share with you today. The Miraculous Success Academy 2024 is open now for you to join. So if you are an entrepreneur who has been thinking about epic levels of success in your business, and you have had that niggle inside that's like, this is my year. This is the time I am going all in. This is the time I am really stepping up and rising. Then this is for you. I want you to join me in this incredible experience where you get to spend some time with me as your coach, mentor, guide, and you get to learn, expand, and grow with other amazing women who are all on a journey to make incredible impact in this world. So if that's you, make sure you go and have a look at the links in the bio and come and join us. What have you got to lose? 2024 really is going to be your year. Hope to see you in there. Welcome to the Soulful Badass podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Jackson, an intuitive success coach from the UK, and I'm here to help entrepreneurs, leaders, and soul-aligned goddesses to create epic levels of success and impact in your life and your business. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you are tuning in every week for mindset talk, manifestation, magic, and incredible interviews with other soul-aligned entrepreneurs. So hit the subscribe button, and I'd love to invite you to come and join the Soulful Badass community. All the links are in the show notes. Please go and click them, and I'll see you in there. Hi everyone, welcome to today's podcast. I'm so excited to announce the guest I've got on today. This is Suzanne Valeriano, and she's the founder, CEO of A Silk Purse, and it's the most amazing jewellery store, but now there's extra things on there. And Suzanne's been in my MSA for 6 months now and is joining the next round, so I get to know her deeply, which is good. But Suzanne, hi, and thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. I'm a pleasure to be here.
So I know this is nerve-wracking for Suzanne as well. So this is her first podcast. So I want to see lots of nice comments for her, but she's got an amazing story, so she had to come and share it with you. So Suzanne, tell us more about A Silk Purse and what you do.
A Silk Purse is an online store that I have for my handmade, vintage-inspired jewelry. And now it's going to be accessories and maybe even some home furnishings or home accessories, I should say. I call them other adornments, but right now it's basically my handmade jewelry. But I've been a creative my whole entire adult life. And I settled on jewelry because it's something that I love and wanted to pursue from a business aspect. It's not my first business. I've been selling my arts and crafts for many years off and on. But the store, the name actually came from a shop that I owned with my mother and my sister. It was a resale, consignment, and gift shop where we specialize in antiques and vintage inspired gifts and accessories. And so it's part of my heart because it was a business that we started together. We had it for just under 4 years. My mom got sick. She couldn't work anymore, but she was like the face of the store. My sister and I kept our jobs part-time. Yeah. I was actually allowed to go part-time. I had a full-time job going into, but the company that I worked for allowed me to go part-time, enough to keep my benefits and my retirement plan and all that. So I felt very privileged to be able to do that. And it was a dream come true, but it was a nightmare sometimes as well. But I got a good feel for what it was like to be in business. I wrote my first business plan, and so it was a really good experience. So I've been dreaming and wanting and aspiring to be a creative business owner, an entrepreneur for my whole entire adult life. So
yeah, and that's so strange because I was just thinking when I seen you post on Instagram And I will pop your Instagram on because it's incredible. But I seen you post of your studio and I was thinking, oh my God, that would be so amazing in a shop setting. I was like, it just screams somewhere like that would be so cool to walk around. So yeah, it's crazy that you're saying that you had a shop. Well,
Yeah. Well, I think that I was just looking over some information I had written about myself. I started to sort of write my story for another purpose, another presentation. And my talent really is the art of arranging. So I make jewelry and that's what I primarily do, but it's about putting the right elements together and arranging them in a way that makes them pleasing to the eye. So whether it's a storefront window or whether it's the server in my dining room or a vignette that I create on a side table in the living room, my talent really is the art of arranging. So
yeah.
I kind of feel that that's really my superpower. And so when it comes to the mixed media abstract art that I've just recently started doing and some of the other things, that sort of kind of just expanding into that type of art form. But
Yeah.
it's all the same thing. It's basically all the same thing. Whether I'm arranging things on a table or I'm arranging things on a canvas or I'm arranging elements to put together a piece of jewelry, it's the art of arranging. And that's where I feel like my superpower lies. So
Never
good
heard
to
you explain it by
I
quite like
know.
that,
You know,
but wow.
I kind of forget, I kind of forget like these things come to me and I think about them and I wrote some things down. Um, I forget what book I was reading when it sort of all came to me. It might have been a Big Leap. Is that what it was called? I
Yeah.
can't remember. But I thought, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at
Yeah.
arranging. And we had two huge storefront windows. They were walk-in windows actually on either side of
Oh,
the
nice.
vestibule doorway to our shop. And at that time, in the little community that we were in, we were noted for our amazing storefront window displays.
Yeah.
So I would spend hours in those windows. I mean,
Yeah, but it's an art form when it's done right. And I can imagine you're all just gonna have to go and see your studio online because it is incredible. But I can imagine how amazing that shop would have been. And if I walked past something that you created like that, there'd be no way that I could not go in. That would just
yeah,
draw me in instantly.
yeah, I
So
appreciate that. I'm going to be sharing more. That was just a little section of my studio, the back wall, but I have a whole room that
wow.
I've taken little video clips of, and then an outer area that I've created is I'm in the basement, so I
Yeah.
basically consumed the whole basement with studio, aside from my laundry room where I do my laundry and I kind of throw all the junk. Today I was hanging star garlands on my. I have hot water heat, so I was hanging star garlands on the big pipes
Oh, to make them look nice.
to make them look nice. Yeah. But so I've got all kinds of whimsical, fun, sparkly things hanging all over the place. And
Amazing.
it's fun. Yeah, it's really fun.
I
So
feel like I need to come and see your house one day.
yeah,
It's just gonna light me right up.
I think I'm probably going to do is that's another thing that I've been toying with is just doing a little bit of a house tour as well, because I have some beautiful vignettes throughout my house where I've done some really nice artful arranging. So I call it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fun to share.
I
Yeah.
love how since working together, it's things are growing arms and legs. I mean, a big thing for you that we've been working on is really kind of allowing this flowing energy and allowing this creative energy to flow through without feeling like you've got to be doing and on all the time. And you started with your abstract art, like you touched on, but you've got all these other things that are just, starting to come through. So do you want to explain a bit about that to people and how you've kind of
Yeah.
transformed in that way?
I think when I first started the jewelry business, I opened my website went online in May of 2019, and I focused so much time and energy on just that.
Mm.
And I was going great guns. I was still working at the time, full time. I was still working, but that was my full focus, and I had no conception of what it was going to be like, how hard it was going to be to really, get out there and have people find me and sell my work. I was kind of delusional, I guess, because I thought, well, I'll just put it out there and people will find me. Well, that's not exactly how it works. So I did. I put a lot of time and energy, and I was very fortunate enough to get chosen to be one of the contributors in the 2020 New York Fashion Week in September of 2020, which of course we all know was COVID year. So it wasn't the experience that it could have been, but I went anyway, and we did it. And it was the most wonderful experience of my life so far. And I've been in magazines. And so things were going really good the first couple years. And then it just seemed like everything sort of slowed down. Even though I was creating and I was putting my work out there, I was finding it just frustrating because I just wasn't selling. I wasn't feeling successful. I was feeling like, the jewelry was letting me down. The art was letting me down. I was letting me down.
Yeah.
And I've taken lots of, business courses online and otherwise. And I got to the point where I just didn't know what else to do, except it came to me that it had to be something about the energy. Like the energy, there was something about my energy that needed to be upgraded, that needed to be changed, that needed to be transformed. And so I'm one of these kind of people. I'm like a self-help. I'm always binging on self-help podcasts and video, anything that's out there, I'm first one in line to listen. And I happened to come across you. I was listening to a podcast. I think it was on Wendy Harrob's Say Yes to Your podcast. And I think you were doing a session with her on I know it was her podcast.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I had seen you once or twice on Facebook in the Facebook group. I'm not sure. You came into my feed somehow, some way.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I could connect. I was drawn to you because I like the way you present yourself. You're very authentic. You're not condescending. You don't act like you know it all. You're kind of there in the thick of things. You were in the thick of things with her. And what I notice about a lot of other people that are out there, nothing against them, because I'm sure that they did all the hard work to get where they are. But, I didn't want to be in a position where like, I was like feeling bad and looking up to somebody. And your idea of power to power is really, really kind of just draws you in and gives you a comfort level that is just, it works. It just works. It works for me. Maybe it's not for everybody, but it's definitely what works for me. And so I find myself kind of, just allowing myself, easing up on myself a little bit, because I tend to be a perfectionist. I tend to be overcritical. I overanalyze everything. And I definitely, my energy has changed, although I have to remind myself, on a pretty regular basis, like this.
You are
this
very
week,
good at that though.
I know, I'm getting good at it.
You are.
This week, I've my inner child is just like, she's been whining all week long. She's bored. She's not doing enough. There's nothing happening. It's raining, it's snowing, it's cold, all that stuff. And I just decided, I said, this morning, it was one of those things that was kind of like a download per se, where I know this. I'm going to wait. I have to wake up and choose what kind of day I'm going to have.
Yeah.
The day's not going to present itself to me in any other way except how I choose for it to be.
Wow.
And so that's something that I think I've learned through being in the group.
Yeah.
And, through, our one-on-ones, talking about my issues and my struggles with fear and anxiety and limiting beliefs and all that stuff that, a lot of creative people have. And and I struggle with that. I always have. And, but I think that I'm becoming, I've gained a better understanding of that and how, and a better understanding of myself and how to approach it whenever it does start to nag at me, like my inner child's been nagging at me all week.
Yeah.
Because she's just unhappy.
She's bored.
She's bored. Yeah.
She wants the fresh air.
She wants the fresh air. She wants things to be happening. She wants me to be doing. And today I just had to put my foot down. Enough. And my day has been great. I've been hanging stars in my basement. And I finished up a couple, this piece of jewelry that I'm wearing today. I just finished
Stunning.
this earrings. This was a design on that. I was just went was a whim. I
Mm.
had this little piece here sitting on my table.
Yeah.
Made it a while back. I didn't have it painted. It's a
Oh,
clay that's pressed into a bezel, and then it's stamped with the design.
yeah.
And I made it. It was like I had some extra clay one day when I was making something else, and I just pressed it in there, stamped it, and set it aside. And I just happened to pick it up the other day, and I thought, I think I'm going to paint this today. And so I just, like I said, it was just a design on the whim, nothing special, but I think it turned out okay. And then, of course,
Stunning. It goes lovely
I'll
with that top.
have to make earrings to go with. So, so I did that today, and I finished up a little jewelry box that I was working on. So I'm going to be posting that on Instagram later in
Yeah.
the week. I was playing around with taking some pictures, and like I've been doing with the art and starting to show the art a little bit. So yeah, I just decided to have fun. So my inner child's not bored anymore. She's okay right now.
And that's the bit that we miss in business. Like I talk about the archetypes all the time, and inner child is one of those. But when you start to work with your ego archetypes rather than against them, that's where you can unleash so much in your business. So now your inner child's having to play and
Yeah,
getting to
she
play.
just wanted to have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was bored with just doing nothing,
Hmm.
because sometimes you just do a lot of nothing.
Yeah. But that's okay as well.
But that's
You
okay
need
too.
that.
I've learned to give myself grace, and that's something that I've never been able to do.
Yeah.
And I'm in a unique position right now because I don't have to answer to anybody on a daily basis. It's just me. And so I don't have those outer forces working. I mean, I have my own outer forces working against me, but I don't have
Yeah.
people forces working against me
Yeah.
like I did when my husband was still here, and I had to answer basically to his whims and
Yeah.
worries and
Yeah.
aggravation. And
Yeah. And we talk about you've had your business now since 2019 and you had the shop previously, but you have worked all your life and from a young age and done a lot in the family. And that doing habit was so strong
yeah,
when we met. And to actually let yourself do nothing was just unknown. That
yeah,
wasn't okay at all. So we've worked a lot together on letting that happen and you letting go of that control
yeah.
and that's nothing to take lightly. Like that has allowed so much more creativity. But as well, I don't know whether you want to share about how you've been trained over the years to really doing was the way to go.
Yeah, well, I think that I came from a large family, 9 brothers and sisters, and I'm the second oldest of 10. And so there wasn't a lot of um, material things to go around on a regular basis. I mean, we were not deprived by any stretch of the imagination. We had, good food to eat and a roof over our head, and all of our basic needs were met.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. So I was really motivated in high school when I had the opportunity to learn how to sew. And that was my first love. And I had gotten a part-time job the day I turned 16, which was legally, that's when you're allowed to work here in the US.
Yeah.
And I had a job the day I turned 16, and I worked part-time as a waitress at one of the local restaurants. And I had money to buy fabric, and I had money to buy the things that I needed to make clothes.
Yeah.
And I could make new clothes for myself for the first time, have like brand
Wow.
new clothes whenever I wanted, with the fabric that I wanted, the colors that I wanted. And
Mm.
so I became really hooked on sewing. In fact, I was making clothes for my girlfriends.
Yeah. Can
One
imagine.
I know, one Easter we all had Easter outfits on that I made. In fact, I have a picture. I'll dig it out one of these days
Yeah.
from back in the 70s. I made all 3 of our Easter
Wow.
outfit for that year, and so that was my first love. And I think once I discovered creativity in that way, I was hooked.
Mm.
And that kind of became like my best friend
Yeah.
because it was a refuge. It
Mm.
was a sanctuary. It was a place where I could go where no one could hurt me. I could go into myself and be creative and just not have to worry about what was happening around me.
Yeah.
And I left home for a while after I graduated from high school. And I struggled for a couple years trying to find myself. I went all the way across the country to Arizona, and that's pretty far away from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's all the way on the other side of the country. And I worked as a waitress out there. I worked as a waitress trainer. I stayed way longer than I was expected to stay. And I had a lot of eye-opening experiences out there, to say the least. But I sort of started dabbling with macrame when
Right.
I was out there.
Yeah.
And so I was like hooked on macrame. I was making jewelry. I was making wall hangings. I was making plant hangers. And who knew that macrame would be back
Yeah.
in 2023?
Yeah. I know.
I mean, I couldn't give that stuff away 20 years ago. But, and again, that was just something that I had the money to buy. I was able to, buy the materials because they weren't expensive.
Yeah.
And we had a local place once I came back home to Pennsylvania. And I would go up in my room and I would just tie knots.
Yeah.
I mean, I just tied knots. And so I went from that to getting into a relationship with my husband. And once we got married, again, didn't have a lot of money. So I found myself making Christmas ornaments. Our first Christmas tree was all handmade Christmas ornaments. I'd sit at the kitchen table with my sewing machine for hours through the wee hours of the night. Had my son, I would make him little dressy outfits and seersucker sunsuits and little 3-piece suits that he says I traumatized him with. I'm be accused of dressing him like a girl. But at that time in the 80s, they didn't have a lot of cute clothes for
No.
boys. And so I was making, his little jumpers, his overalls, applique, sailboats and stuff
Yeah.
on them. And then I started making fabric covered picture frames and photo albums. I did a couple craft shows. So I was doing craft shows off and on. And then I started making, once we bought our house, and this was a handyman special when we bought it 40 years ago. So I started getting into furnishing it with, garage sales furniture and refinishing and all these vintage things. My mother was into that. My mom and dad had bought a big old Victorian home, and that's how they were doing it, room by room, yard sale by yard sale. And so kind of taking their lead. And that's when I fell in love with vintage. I mean, and I've been in love with vintage ever since. So if it's old, if it's worn, if it's got any bit of life left in it, it's coming home with me.
That's good.
And I may not do anything with it for 10 years, but this house became my creative project.
Yeah.
Room by room, refinishing woodwork, hanging wallpaper, decorating it, buying secondhand furniture and fixing it up, and buying all my little collectibles and things that I like to decorate with. And I learned how to do flower arranging, and I made curtains, and I, did all that stuff. And so it's just been an ongoing progression for me.
Yeah.
And got the shop. And of course I was doing, again, we were restoring and refinishing and putting vintage items back into use, and got into the repurposing. And I even started buying my clothes at resale shops and consignment stores, because it's a point where like it wasn't economical to make your own clothes anymore, because fast fashion had come into play, and fabric started to get more expensive, and this is the time that it took to make clothes and things. And I worked in an office, so I needed to look professional. And I had a girlfriend who, this woman was the best dressed woman you'd ever meet in your life. I mean, every day, different outfit from head to toe. And she taught me how to shop thrift.
That's good.
And Yeah. And she was amazing. I mean, she was amazing. So yeah, I started buying my clothes
Mm,
um, at secondhand stores and consignment shops and thrift stores. And so it's amazing what's out there.
yeah.
So many beautiful things that people just throw away. It's kind of a sin, really, when you think about it.
Mike buys all of his clothes secondhand and
Yeah.
like brand new practically. Some of the stuff, it's just incredible. So he's designer top to toe, but it's all, yeah, all
That's
secondhand.
the way she was. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the way I became. It's like, it was amazing when you could go to a secondhand store, a thrift store. I'm not sure what you call them over there in the UK, but
Charity shops, unfortunately.
charity shops. Yeah. Um, and spend, $100 there and have like 20 new outfits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
We don't have the most glamorous name for them here, but yeah,
Yeah.
charity shops are. We do have some vintage stores that sell clothes, but it's more the charity that'll have the secondhand or eBay, vintage, that
Yeah.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's more upscale type shops because
Yeah.
it's trendy and people love it.
Mm,
We had our store, this was 20 years ago, I was starting to get into vintage clothing
yeah.
because I love vintage clothing. And 20 years ago, you couldn't give vintage clothing away. Nobody wanted it. They just did
Oh,
not.
everybody wants
Now,
it now.
now everybody wants it.
Yeah.
I was always like three steps ahead of what was going to be trending.
Yeah.
But we did have luck with some coats, but other than that,
Mm.
and I have some beautiful pieces that I've just collected. I've even been able to wear some of them. And so, I should part with them, but I just not quite yet.
That's the only issue you have. You make all this amazing stuff, or you get all this amazing stuff, and then you want to keep it all.
I know, but I've gotten better at that. Gotten
Mm,
better at that, and of course with the jewelry, I do a lot of repurposing of jewelry, and I like to use parts and components and pieces that are old stock. So
mm,
they're parts that were made, 50 years ago, but they were never used. And there are a lot
yeah.
of people out there selling that type of thing. So I definitely prefer to work with vintage. I do use some new components and some
Mm,
reproduction pieces. And of course, I do like to support other artists too. So
yeah.
I will buy from other artists if they make this one woman. In fact, she's local here. She's actually a well-known artist, and she does some hand-painted flowers. And I've bought a bunch of her stuff. I have a whole line of her floral design
Oh, nice.
pieces in my store. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm definitely, it's definitely an aesthetic that I have that's
Yeah.
unique to what you'll see out there typically, you
Yeah.
know. And it's not fine jewelry by any stretch of the imagination. It's fashion jewelry, but it's high quality fashion jewelry.
Yeah. Very high quality fashion jewelry.
Yeah,
And as well, it's all unique.
yeah.
It's one of a
Everything's
kind jewelry that you're not going to see someone else wearing anything like that or any piece like that.
every single piece is one of a kind. Yeah.
Yeah. And absolutely stunning. And the art that you've got into as well, it blows my mind that you're only new to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. And it's actually, I'm finding that harder to do than the jewelry. But
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of getting into a rhythm.
Mm,
Like the jewelry, I can look at a piece of anything and be inspired to make jewelry.
yeah.
But art is a little bit harder because the inspiration for the art needs to come from somewhere else. Like the one piece I did was just these old stained glass windows that were at an old church in my neighborhood. So I'm trying to like tune into those things that I never really tuned into that much before or even just like I have a wall on the outside of my house where the paint's kind of peeling on the foundation.
Mm,
And I took a picture of that the one day because it caught my eye. I'm like, well, that's kind of a cool inspiration for a
yeah.
piece of art. So it's sort of opening up my eyes to other areas of inspiration that I can draw from
Yeah.
to create the art, the canvas, the art pieces versus the jewelry. Because the jewelry, I can whip up jewelry with my eyes closed,
Yeah.
and it's just, I'm prolific. I have,
Mm,
one piece after another. And that's why I said I got to the point where it's like, I don't want to make any more jewelry because
Yeah.
I have so much and I feel like I'm not selling it fast enough. But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think it gave me the opportunity. And I don't think I would have like even thought about trying something else.
Mm.
Had not come to that sort of crossroads is what I call it
Yeah.
with the jewelry business and not sort of not knowing or kind of doubting myself and having
Yeah.
some sort of a, I don't know, it wasn't a meltdown. It was just kind of a, just feeling like I was lacking, like something was missing. Yeah. And the art is helping me bring me back
Yeah. Yeah.
to
And
the
that's,
joy and to the business. And yeah. And
yeah.
it's just,
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you were at the point of feeling like
I didn't
not
want to do it
giving
anymore.
up, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you didn't want that side of the business anymore, and
Yeah.
just taking that step back and going into the abstract art and just using that as an outlet, not with any intention of, there was no expectation of this is going to be the new side to the business, even though
Right.
you had me getting all excited about
Yeah.
where it was going. But you just took a step back and just poured into learning something new and enjoying it and having it as your outlet. And that's just sparked this whole new creativity and, dare I say it, Suzanne, massive confidence that
Yeah.
you've actually stepped into now. Because what I've seen and what the other girls in MSA have seen is you stepping into the art has actually allowed you to own how good your jewelry is
Yeah.
and step up prices and stand, where before you were always worried about what you charged, and now you're like, no, this is my price, this is what it is. And
Yeah.
it's just a complete difference, but taking that step back has allowed you to be able to reignite that. And
Yeah. There was always that conflict. Yeah. About, is it good enough? Is the price too high? Why aren't people buying it? Comparing myself to other artists and other jewelry makers.
Yeah.
And that was a big issue for me. It still is to some degree, but I catch myself.
Yeah.
And I just remind myself that it's okay. That person is producing beautiful art and selling beautiful art. And you do too.
You do.
It's not an either or. It's, there's enough to go around for all of us.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself from time to time, but it's getting easier and it's coming more naturally to just be, be happy for that other artist and to see that other artist's success and know that that success can be mine as well.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be mine or hers. It can be, we can have success. And my art's not the same as hers. And she could be looking at my stuff and thinking, wow, her stuff is really nice, better than what so I think it goes both ways.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. And so, yeah, I think that I have gained more confidence and just a better understanding of who I am and how I am. Learned that through, learning about the archetypes, about human design and the kind of personality that I am. And why I do get bored and my inner child gets bored because, I'm a manifesting generator and I need to be doing more than one thing.
Yeah.
I need to be kind of have my hands in a couple different things. And so I'm growing from that as well.
Yeah. And that's huge, because I think as manifesting generators, if anybody doesn't know about human design, there's a couple of podcasts on it that I've done, like maybe go and check that out. But manifesting generators are meant to be multifaceted and have multiple passions, but society always teaches us, no, concentrate on one, you'd pouring your attention over too many things. And we kind of think that when we get that bored stage, what's wrong with me? Why am I bored? Why is this happening again? And I know I was always in that cycle of, I'd maybe be in a job for 2 years and then I'd be like, right, I'm done. Like, I want to move on. And I didn't like it anymore. And I always felt like, what's wrong? Why am I repeating this cycle? But that's completely normal. You're meant to get everything you get out of something and then move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, that's another with the jewelry making, there's so many different techniques and so many different possibilities. So it keeps me lit up. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always, always learning and growing, but adding the other art in, I think, I was kind of at a point where I just didn't want to, I was just felt like it was letting me down and I was
Yeah.
failing it. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a failure. So I just thought, well, we'll just stop, we'll just stop. But I don't think I would have actually pursued the other art had I not reached that point. So, I think that things do happen in
Yeah.
the progression that they're supposed to happen we allow them to happen.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of allowing, because I'm not the type of person. I think I try to stay pretty upbeat, and I'm not the type of person that's gonna I mean, I can get depressed, but I don't stay depressed.
Yeah.
I can't function that way.
Mm.
I know I can't function that way. And so I don't really even allow myself to go there. I might have a down day, but typically I can find a way. And it's creativity is what brings me out
Yeah.
and brings me up. And whether it's just working in my garden or putzing around the house, rearranging or, whatever,
Mm.
that is what lights me up. And
Yeah.
that's what keeps me going. So it has really been my best friend. And I think that it was given to me for a reason,
It was.
given to
It
me
was.
for a reason, because it has really helped me survive and grow
Mm.
and thrive
Yeah.
uh, among, in spite of a lot of difficult circumstances and
Yeah.
situations over my life. So,
It's give you that outlet, hasn't it? And that, like you say,
yeah,
that sanctuary, but for that bigger purpose, because now it's meant to be shared.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But you've battled with being a creative for a long time because you probably did the sensible thing and just
I
pushed
did.
it down and did the things on the side, but didn't, you had this massive draw to have a business, but didn't really pursue that till later on, other than the shop, and then you parked it again. What advice have you got for women who are in that position where they're just thinking, using it as a hobby, but really kind of want to step into a business?
I wish that I knew 20 years ago what I know now. I don't know that I would have done anything different because, my financial situation at the time didn't really allow me to just walk away from my
Yeah.
job. But I think that I probably would have been a little more supportive of myself. Try to at least, I mean, I did do things, I did take classes, I did do business courses and stuff, but I would sort of go hot and cold.
Mm.
I didn't have a lot of support either. So whatever support you can get,
Yeah.
and if it's not from your husband or your immediate family member, then seek it somewhere else. Find a community of other artists, find a community of other people who are doing what you want to do,
Mm.
and gain the strength and the support from them
Yeah.
to pursue your dreams. Because that's what I didn't do. I tried to do it alone
Yeah.
in an environment where there was no support.
Mm.
And I just gave up. I mean, it was always there, but I sort of, I didn't fight it
Yeah.
too hard. So
Yeah. And that's just proves that that niggle never goes away.
it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, I would sit at work, and I was lucky because I had a job where I could sort of, there were days when I could hide, if
Mm.
I was pretty good at what I did and I could get my work done. And I had a private office for a while, and then in a cubicle. They reduced us to cubicles after a move. But there would be days when I would just like, I would, I would draw jewelry designs, and I would write business plans, and I would write affirmations and just kind of just dream, because I couldn't bear being there. And I
Yeah.
was one of the kind of people that I never missed work. I showed up every single day,
Yeah.
and I was considered a model employee
Yeah.
for many, many years. But there were days when it was hard. And the only way I could get through it is just to, to take my mind somewhere else, just put
Yeah.
myself somewhere else for the day. I was lucky that way because I didn't have somebody looking over my shoulder. I wasn't
Yeah.
punching a time clock. I was in a position where I was pretty well respected for the position that I had, and I could get away with
Yeah.
goofing off every
Dreaming.
so often. Yeah,
Well,
dreaming.
doing your work and then
Dreaming on the
dreaming.
job. Dreaming on the
Yeah.
job. You
Yeah.
know, the
She's
job that
definitely not goofing off because there's been a big good girl driver
yeah,
in you that we've
right.
you've
Yeah.
been working on, and yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny though, because I retired. I think I'm going into my 6th year.
Wow.
And it was a company that I worked for almost 40 years. And it seemed like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because there were people that I worked with. I mean, I have some lifelong friends that I made that I still have and will always have. But for the most part, most of the people that I worked with, all those years, I haven't heard from them. I don't see them. I don't know what they're doing. They don't know what I'm doing. It's just like, it was like a lifetime ago,
Yeah.
and you think this is what you're reduced to
Yeah.
after working for a corporation for all those years. Like, you're just another person. You're just another employee that's come and gone. That's another was kind of a rude awakening for me, was like, I don't mean anything to these people. It's just a work relationship,
Yeah.
that was it was a mutual relationship, that worked both ways. But once you separate the corporation from the people, there's no relationship there. It's completely gone and forgotten.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty crazy when I realized, like, a year had gone by, and even people that I thought I was close to, like, didn't hear from them. They didn't, check up on me to see how I was doing. I reached out a couple times, but it just like didn't seem, it was different. It was
Yeah.
definitely different. Like,
Yeah.
it's just time to move on,
Oh, well, it's nice to see that, isn't it, afterwards, in a sense that that you've made the right choice going in
Absolutely.
and surrounding yourself with good people as well. And
Yeah.
yeah. But it's hard to make that jump, especially, like you say, that support network is critical,
It is.
because even with what I've done, people around me don't really get it. I'm lucky that I've got a partner. He doesn't get it, but he supports me anyway.
Yeah.
And it's he trusts it, in a sense of, I totally get your vision. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
he's going to be talking to angels and guides anytime soon, but
Right.
he gets it enough to support me, which is, I know how lucky that is, because without that, the last, I don't know, 4 years since starting my business, I think I would have crumbled, because you need that support.
Even when we opened we opened the shop, my husband, he was okay with it, but he never supported me. It was always your hobby. It was always, this is just your hobby. This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
This is not serious. Like, he never took the business seriously. And so he never offered to help, because there were times when, you've got to move furniture. You've got to go pick things up. If you went to an estate sale, we used to buy out like whole houses.
Yeah.
And we had to find, manpower, and I never asked, because I didn't want to get into that. Really wasn't his dream. And I understand that, but it would have been nice if every so often he would have offered to help. My son was always willing to help, but he was in high school at the time. So there was only so much he could do.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I did feel like I was in it alone, but it was still, I had my sister and my mother, and we supported each other for the most part, but we had our differences too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can't imagine being in business with my sister and mum. That would be interesting.
Well, and I had a strained relationship with my mother my whole life. And so, this was her way of trying to make amends with me. And when she put it out there like that hurt my feelings, because that's not why I wanted her to do this with me. I wanted I'll do it because we wanted to do it, and I didn't really find that out until after the fact. And so, it was one of those things like, now, am I supposed to be indebted because she chose to do this because of me, to try and make up to me. I mean, I'm 40 years old. It's
Yeah.
too late for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
take that as a sign of a loving thing, definitely.
We did. We became good friends. We really
Yeah.
did. My mother was one of my best friends, and
That's
she was, even for all that we struggled through, my
Mhm.
younger years and my high school years and even my young adult years, she had her struggles too. So,
Yeah.
we did become really good friends, and we
Yeah.
had a lot of times together. So no regrets there at all. None
Oh, good.
whatsoever.
Good. So what's next, Suzanne? Because you've got some big plans, I know, but what's coming next in the immediate future that you can see?
I honestly don't know. I'm kind of just leaving it open to, what comes my way. I
Love
mean,
it.
I'm going to take advantage of any opportunity that I have. I've
Mm.
applied to be in an art show, hopefully in the summer. And whenever magazine editorial requests come my way, if I've got anything that I think is even remotely
Yeah.
qualified, I go ahead and submit. And I've been fortunate to get chosen
Yeah.
more than once. So I'll do that, and I'll keep making jewelry. I'm hoping to put some of my artwork onto the website
Fab.
eventually. And I'm
Yeah.
also working on some other pieces, jewelry boxes, compacts that have been repurposed
Mm.
to give beautiful gifts, some hair accessories, maybe.
Ooh.
I actually do have a line of hair accessories. I've never put them on the website, but
You need
I
to.
I know I'm going to do the hair accessories. So yeah, so I'm going to keep trying new things,
Mm.
creating,
That'd be
and
perfect for weddings as well. Uh,
yeah, I do. Yeah, weddings is a big
mm.
thing. But I have a little, I do have a little collection on my website of bridal
Yeah.
possibilities. I call bridal possibilities because they could be
Mm.
bridal, but they could be other than bridal, but mostly like the white stuff, the cream, that colorway that I
Yeah.
have. But I haven't really done any bridal hair accessories, which I know are pretty popular,
Yeah.
and I am fully capable of doing it. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of actually doing it. So
So anybody out there who knows any stores or photographers or anybody who's looking for accessories and extras, make sure you're checking out Suzanne's website because it's absolutely stunning.
yeah, yeah.
So any last messages, Suzanne, that you want to share or any advice you want to give anyone?
The only advice that I can say, at least from me, that I can truly buy into and believe is just don't give up on yourself. You're never too old to follow your dream. I mean, I'm old.
You are not. She's absolutely stunning for anyone who's listening to the podcast and not seeing her in real life. Oh my God, she's so stunning.
But you're really never too old to follow your dreams. And so I'm going to keep following mine and hoping for the best and doing the best that I can and just learning to have more fun. That's the big thing. That's what I've learned is I need to learn to have more fun. It's not all about being serious
Mm.
because this is something that I've wanted to do my whole life. And if it's not going to be fun, it's not worth
Yeah.
pursuing. So life's too short. Life's too short.
I
And
love
like I said,
hearing you say that.
I wish I knew 20 years ago but again, it's never too late.
Yeah, it isn't. And I'm one of the lucky ones that gets to see you grow, especially over the next 6 months in
Yes.
MSA. So I can't wait for that. But
Yeah.
I will pop all the links in so that you can follow Suzanne and check out her website and go and buy yourself some jewelry and treat yourself. But thank you so much. I know you were nervous, but that did not come across at all. So I hope you're super proud of yourself for coming on today.
Well, when I rewatch it, I might change my mind, but
Not at all.
it's
You've
okay.
been incredible.
We're good. We're good. Yeah. I
So
appreciate the opportunity.
anytime you'll have to come on in another 6 months and tell everybody what you're up to then, because I'm sure
Yeah.
it'll be even bigger.
Well, yes, that's the thing too. Like, it's been 6 months and I've grown and learned, and I feel like I've really transformed in many, many ways, but I want more. I
Yeah.
want more. I
You
know
keep
there's more.
going.
Yeah, I know there's more.
Yeah.
So,
That's the bonus about this, isn't it? It's every level you're at, there's still that growth and expansion. So it's not like a course where you're just going to be, right, I'm done. It's like,
yeah,
right, I'm next level now, next level now.
I want more. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And you touched on as well that power to power, that
Yeah,
if anybody doesn't know, I always say that I attract powerful women. I attract people who are here to make a big change in the world, which Suzanne is. But that's because we are all just as powerful as each other. And once you realize that, you don't need to look up to anyone and you
yeah,
don't need to be in that situation, because when we work together, Suzanne is so powerful. She knows she's put all of this into action, and all it is about getting you to see that, because you bring something different that I bring, and them two together is just an extension of
yeah.
good energy.
Yeah, and it's the authenticity too that I think that you come across as very authentic, very generous,
Thank
and
you.
it's a unique talent. It's a unique gift that you have that I don't see very often. And
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of self-help gurus. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, videos, whatever, and you don't see the
Yeah.
authenticity.
Oh,
And it's probably there. It's just that it doesn't come across that way
yeah.
to everyone.
I think it's that shift of what's really lighting me up is teaching and coaching, just like
Right.
your art lights you up. I think it's just that opportunity that I get from people saying yes to work with me.
Yeah.
That gives me life more than people know. And I grow off everyone I work with.
Yeah. Well,
Definitely.
you stay humble. That's another thing too. Like you stay humble
You teach
about.
me stuff. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you've taught me over the last 6 months, Suzanne, is how quick someone can break old habits. You know, you touched on how you overthink, but actually the habits you've put in now, to at the first you were like, oh, well, I've done this for 60 years. I'm never going to break this. I'm never going to be able to,
Mhm.
stop this easy. And actually you stop yourself mid-sentence now and
Yeah.
go, no, I'm not going to do that. Or you stop yourself midweek where you're like, no, I'm going to change my day. I'm going to make this different. And
Yeah.
to be able to do that in such a short space of time is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
It used to be one of my favorite catchphrases to say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right?
But you definitely can.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just really let that sink in, that actually you've done that in a short
Yeah.
space of time. And I can
Yeah.
only show you the way. You've got to be the one who's done it. And
Yeah.
you have. And there's more
Yeah.
to come.
I know. I feel good. I feel really good. I feel really positive about the future. Looking forward to the next 6 months with
Yeah.
you and with the girls in the group. I think we all make each other shine. We all,
Yeah.
kind of pull from each other, and that community, like I said, that support
Yeah.
is something that I've really never had, and I really love it. I think it's
Yeah.
essential.
It is. It's
Yeah,
been brilliant, even for me, like to be a part of it. So
yeah.
thank you for being a part of my journey
You're welcome.
and coming on the podcast. So I'm going to get this out as soon as possible because it is so good.
Okay.
And if anybody has any questions for Suzanne, please let us know and we'll forward them on, and just follow her journey. She's posting some incredible reels and things lately, and you get to see her amazing art, which is special.
Thank you.
How amazing was Suzanne? She shared so many gems in that podcast, but can we just give her some love over the socials, because that was her first podcast ever and she was super nervous about it, and you would not be able to tell. She shared her story and she shared so much wisdom with us all. So please go and check her out on Instagram. Go and have a look at her website. Her jewellery is incredible and you will not be disappointed. But please give her a follow and enjoy her beautiful things.